What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Dewan Lightfoot, and today I want to talk about using Python as a network engineer for the very first time. Before we begin, I want to give a shout out to DR Footman from CCIE by 30. You can connect with her on Twitter. She's a Cisco champion, and I believe she won Blog of the Year for her CCIE Journey blog. She puts out a lot of excellent content, but the reason why I'm shouting her out is because she created a 100 Days of Code Slack group for those network engineers and just people that want to learn Python. The group is excited to learn about Python. There's so many of us in here. I'm in the group, Kelvin's in the group, Chris Williams in the group. There's many of us that you may know, Brandon Hunter, that are in this group ready to learn about Python and share the information that we may know. Feel free to click the link in the description to join the group and then also to connect with DR. Now, installing Python. Python is available for Linux, Windows, Raspberry Pis, Macs, whatever you name it. Python is pretty much compatible with the platform or OS that you may be running. In this video, we're going to download Python 3 for Windows 10. What you're going to do is go to python.org, click downloads, and then download Python 3. You may be asking, what about Python 2.7? Well, Python 2.7 will be deprecated here in 2020, meaning it will no longer be supported. Now, you will find 2.7 in environments in production currently, but my recommendation is learn the latest version of Python, and then if you have to go back and learn 2.7, do that, because there are many differences in it. Now, once you download Python, you'll click this installer. Now, I already have it installed, so I'm just going to click modify. For you, you'll click install, and then you'll just leave these optional features. And then from here on this advanced options, what I want to stress is that this box right here, add Python to environment variables. It's important that you have this box checked. If you don't have this box checked, when you open up Command Prompt or PowerShell, when you attempt to run your Python scripts, they're not going to work. Or you attempt to open Python, it's not going to work. So be sure before you click install, you check this box here, and then you click install, and then Python will be installed. I'm going to exit out because, like I said, I already have it installed. So we have that. The next thing we want to talk about is a little bit about Python. On this python.org, you can find a bunch of information from release notes on Python to documentation on Python to the PEP index of Python, which is all the enhancement proposals that python.org, where they write them. One of the enhancements, or one of those PEPs that's the most important to me, is the PEP 8, which is the style guide for Python, meaning how Python should be written. How should it, when I mean by written means, is that what makes it so readable and understandable, like double spaces in between your imports and the beginning of your script, and how you should put functions at the beginning of your script. Just things like that of your style, how you should leave a blank line at the end of your script. This is all can be found in PEP 8. And there's many other PEPs that are pretty cool, like the Zen of Python, which we'll go over here as well. So that's that. We have Python installed. We talked about that. Another thing I want to cover here is pypy.org. And pypy.org, here is where you can find pretty much the package index, all of the libraries that are available for Python that have been approved by Python. And when you install through pip, these are all the packages that you can find. Now, when we talk about Python and why everybody's using it for automation, I'm going to show you here. If you type in automation here at pypy.org, you can see there's 4,500 projects that are available for automation. Now, if we type in network automation, see how many is available. It says there's 10,000 projects, which that could be so like 6,000. I believe there's 6,000 for networking. It's like I said, 4,500 for automation. So yeah, so it's kind of combining the two. But either way, there's many projects available to help you get started in network automation. Tools that already are there. You don't have to necessarily go down and recreate the tools. Use what's available. So check out pypi.org. I'll have a link in the description to where you can find different libraries and search till your eyes go blind. Cool. But another thing before we start is I want you to get used to using Google searches. When you're writing your Python scripts, feel free to check out the Twitter, ask questions, hit the Slack group, wherever you have questions, but get used to using Google searches for the questions that you have. And a lot of those questions will already be answered on like Stack Overflow or something, where if you have a question about how something is written in Python, you can go to Stack Overflow, you can do a Google search to look at the docs. There's many places to find your answers, but get used to using Google searches because a lot of the tools that you're trying to write are already available, or the questions that you have already been asked online. So get used to using Google. All right, next I want to talk about is a few things you should know about Python. And for that, I'll pull Python back up and we'll just kind of talk about it. All right, so Python is a multi-purpose interpreted programming language, which is very flexible. It's very readable. It's a common language that many people use and has been written on many different platforms. Like I said before, Raspberry Pi, web pages, you name it, Python has probably been utilized in some form or fashion. In Ansible, there's many ways. So there's over 100,000 packages available for Python. That's one of the reasons that so many people are using Python today. There's over 3,000 packages, as we saw, related to automation. Packages can be installed using pip. I'll show you that here as well. And then it's pretty easy to learn compared to other languages that are out there. Now let's get to the meat and potatoes. You have Python installed, right? Now, how do you run it? The first thing you're going to do is go to your start menu and type in Python. And once you pull up Python, what you're going to see here let me get this so we can see it. All right, so now we're in the actual Python interpreter. This is where you'll run your Python code. So if I want to print hello world, I can, if I can type, here I can print hello world, or I can go and it'll print as well. This is where you can actually write your code straight here, but it's going to be line by line. That's one of the things that makes it an interpreted language. The compiling is minimal as far as what the user sees. So it's actually compiling every time you write code and print it to the screen, but that doesn't matter to us. Right now, I can go line by line and do my Python code. So this is the interpreter. That's one way to run Python. Another thing to learn about Python is idle. So idle is the Python shell that's installed when you install Python. Idle, same thing. If I print hello world, it'll print, or I can print, boom, hello world. Same thing as the interpreter, but there's a couple differences with the interpreter and Python. One of those One of those differences is like with GitPass. Now, you may not understand this now, but I'll show you here what I mean, just so you'll have an example of the differences between the shell and the actual interpreter. So if I do x getpass.getpass, I'm printing what GetPass does is it stores your password. So if I put hello world as my password, and then I print X, as you can see, it printed this in clear text, right? That's not really what you want, because GetPass is supposed to hide your password when you actually print it to the screen. So if I pull back up the interpreter and do the same thing, one of the things about the interpreter is if I import GetPass, and this may be all foreign to you, but basically when you start writing your scripts, you don't want to put your passwords in your scripts, and GetPass is a great way to prompt the password. So if I do hello world again, print X, and it's hello world. There you go. So GetPass is clear text. Well, yeah, it kind of is clear text, but either way, it doesn't prompt on the screen in the interpreter, but in the shell it does. Another thing about idle is that when you actually write your scripts, if you click new file, now you have a place to actually write your script and run your script. So if I do print hello world, and then I'll have to save it with F5, it'll say your source must be saved, and I'll click test, and I'll save this to my desktop. It's going to save a Python file, and now it ran it. So what it does is it saves it, and then when you click run up here, run module, it'll open up the shell and run your code. So you can actually write your code in idle and then save it and then run module, or just click F5 and it'll open up the shell and execute the code that you're writing. It'll let you know if there's errors, and it'll actually give you that color text. I forget what it's called, but the italics text to let you know if you're writing strings is green, print is purple, you know what I mean? Things of that nature. So that's a good thing about using idle. Now there's other ways to run Python as well. One of those ways to run Python is going to be with something like an IDE. There's many IDEs out there. I believe Sublime is one. I use PyCharm. There's Atom. There's many other IDEs that are available. The thing about using an IDE, other than just using a text editor or something like idle, is that when you use an IDE, it's a lot of safeguards that are built in when you're learning to write code. And I'll show you what I mean here now. All right, so if I pull up a blank scratch here, and I minimize that. All right, so when I start to write code here, like let's say I start typing print, it gives me suggested intelligence to say, okay, here's the format, and if I want to print hello world, it kind of guides me through writing my scripts. And if I want to execute my script, I do Control Shift F10, and then it'll execute my script at below. But the issue with this, like I said, is there's so many safeguards when you're learning to write your code here, is that, yeah, you're learning how to write code, but you're not actually learning what to do and what not to do, because this is actually telling you what to do and what not to do. You get what I'm saying? Other than if you wrote it like in something like idle, you'll have to execute your code, then it's telling you it's broke. If you do something wrong in idle, like if I just put x equals this, you see the red underline? Is something wrong, then it gives you the suggested thing to say, okay, import this, and then it'll work. But you won't know that if you're using something like x equals this. If you're using idle and then I click run, it'll save it, and then it's going to error out. And this is what you want to get used to seeing, these trackbacks. When you're writing Python code, you're going to have to get used to taking this name error, name this is not defined, and Googling this to find out why it's not working. And what you would do is just pull up Google and do a Google search and see why it's not working. And then this is what I was talking about, Stack Overflow, number one answer, and you'll find, okay, here's why it's not working. You see what I mean? That's one of the reasons why I suggest to just get used to using something like idle, or another way is just using an interpreter to write your scripts, or some type of text editor. And I'll show you this as well. So here's a script I wrote in Python. And one of the things about this script, and actually I think this script, my boy Ron, I got it from my boy Ron. I kind of edited it. This script compares configs. And one of the things you'll notice is that I'm opening this script in Notepad++. Cancel. So I'm opening this in Notepad++, and I can actually see in Notepad++, this is written in Python. And the way you do that is by, let me pull this down so you can see. So if you go up here to language, these are all the languages that are readable by Notepad++. If you just click this P, then you click Python, boom. Now it lets me know the format, and it edits my script with Python. So it's saying, okay, all right, this is Python. I can read it. This is correct. This isn't correct. And it kind of just helps you like that. But then you have to save it and still execute your code. So you can double click your script or whatever you decide to do. But if you double click your script, what's going to happen, like I have this saved on my desktop. If I execute this code here, so if I go over to my desktop and I execute this Python script test, it's just going to go away. It's not going to do anything because I don't have some type of pause in it. And I'll show you. Hold on. Let me put this in somewhere you can see it. So if I cut, let's go over here and let's do, I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So I'm creating a folder. I'm going to put this in here. All right, so we have this test right here. And if I double click it, it goes away and disappears. Now, if I click edit with idle, let's edit with Notepad++. As you can see, if I put some type of pause in there, like let's do x equals input, and let's click wait. All right, and if I save this, and then we come back over here, and I execute it, and then save it. All right. I save it. Make sure it's saved correctly. It's saved. X equals input this. Actually, that ain't gonna work because this, it doesn't work. All right, try this one more time. X equals input weight, and it didn't work because I didn't have that quote. And see, this is what I mean by if you don't have your, how can I say, if you're using a editor like PyCharm, you won't never see why your script is broken. You have to get used to that. So once I added that quote, what should happen now is it pops up and says it's waiting for my input. It prints hello world, and then it's waiting for my input. And then once I enter my input, the script will go away. Again, I'll repeat why it didn't work one more time. So without that quote, because you got to have an open quote and a closed quote in order for a script to be readable. If not, it's going to error out. And if I open up command prompt and I do the same thing, so X equals input quote X, and then I just close it. See, I'm going to get this error. It lets you know that EOL while scanning string literal, and then it gives you this arrow that says, okay, this is where your error is at. Now, if I come back, close it, boom. Now it's waiting for my response, and I say hello, boom, and I can print X. That's one of the reasons why we all suggest, pretty much all of us that code, that you don't use something like idle, so that way you can actually learn how to code, learn how to catch your errors, learn how to just, work on your issues that you're going to face when you're writing this code. I hope this video has been informative for you to get you started with Python. Oh, one more thing. Yeah. So some libraries that you may want to install with Python. Let's go over here to PyPy. So one of those libraries that many of us use or start off using is NetMiko. NetMiko, and there's actually a GitHub for NetMiko as well. Another great resource for learning how to automate. This is written by Kirk Byers. Now, if you want to install Python, if you want to install NetMiko, what you'll do is, let me exit out of here. You exit Control Z, and now you want to do pip. If I can type pip, I can't type and talk NetMiko. And what's going to happen is pip is going to install NetMiko on my device, but it's already installed, so I don't have to install it again. Another great resource is Python Dateutil. So pip install Python Dateutil, and it lets you know that it's already installed. XML doc, if you want to use XML, or in other words Excel, is the deeper you go into it, or XML to dick, I should say. All right, it's already installed. So XLRD is another one that I use to use Excel files when I'm doing my code. Check those out. I'll put all this information and links in the description. Again, feel free to join the Slack group for 100 days of Python coding, and I look forward to seeing you all there. If you all have any questions, hit the comment section below. If you like this video, hit it with a thumbs up. If you just want to say, Dwan, you're awesome, feel free to comment in the section below. Subscribe to the channel, and I thank y'all for viewing. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.